So every founder we talk to has basically been told the same three things to have their business run without them. It's either delegate more, write better SOPs, or get yourself a better chief operations officer. And I personally talked with hundreds of founders in the past 2 years that have all done these things, but they're still stuck in the day-to-day operations. So clearly those three things aren't solving it as well, even though they have been done well and tried in multiple different scenarios. And in the next 9 minutes or so, I'm going to show you what the actual problem is, what we've seen fix it across dozens of these operators, and the exact framework that we use to get a business to a point where it can actually run without the founder being that single point of failure. And there's really like one sentence I want you to remember from this entire video as well, is that your business can't actually run without you because you are the operating system. So if you think about it like this, your laptop has an operating system, right? Windows or Mac, and that operating system is a thing that makes everything else work. It connects all the apps, it handles all the exceptions, and it knows where everything is stored. So that's you right now in your business, where every process and judgment call is in your head. And in that case, nobody's just actually like pulled the operating system out of your head and installed it somewhere your business can actually run from. So that's what I want to cover in this video. And basically, the first thing, and I know this sounds weird coming from a company that's doing operations and systems, is that SOPs don't actually fix this. And every business consultant tells you to write more SOPs. And we've talked to over 100 founders, and every single one of them already did that. So they spent weeks putting processes into Google Docs. Some of them paid consultants tens of thousands to build out their entire knowledge base. And you know what happened? The SOPs just sit there. They go stale within weeks, and new hires don't really read them. And half the team that was already there when they were written has already turned over. And that's not because the SOPs were actually bad. It's because an SOP is a recipe book for a restaurant that changes its menu every week. So by the time you've already written down how to make the actual dish, the dish has already changed, right? And think about what actually has to happen for an SOP to work. Someone has to find the right document, read through it, figure out how it applies to their specific situation, and then execute it correctly from memory. And that's already four things that need to go right before any actual work gets done. So think of it like handing someone a paper map and then saying drive across the country without the GPS, right? Technically, all the information is there, but you're betting on them not making a single wrong turn, essentially. And you've probably seen this play out as well when, if you think about the last time you, for example, onboarded someone new, you pointed them to a folder with like 15 documents, they skimmed two of them, got pulled into real work by day three, and then learned everything else by just asking whoever was sitting next to them, right? So the SOPs exist, but nobody's using them, and you're still kind of the person everybody leans back to. So if SOPs aren't really the answer, then what is? And I want to show it to you in here, basically. So instead of writing a document that describes how a process is supposed to work, what you want to do is build a system where process itself guides the person through it, with the system itself being the instruction. So the person really doesn't need to read anything. They just open up the system and it tells them exactly what to do, in what order, and with what inputs, and what the output should look like as well. And the issue with an SOP is that you're betting on human compliance essentially. But with a system like this, compliance is just built into the system itself. So the person can't skip any steps because the system won't let them move forward. And they don't need to remember the process as well because the system remembers it for them. So when a new hire joins, they're not sitting in a room reading a 15-page document, but they open up a system instead that walks them through their first real task there in real time. And let me give you an example of what this actually looks like in practice as well. So as you can see on the screen here, you can see how it looks like with the document-based system, and then how it would be as a system-based. So in the system-based, you actually like see, what you need to do for that specific step, all written out, and then like a checklist basically. So you just go through the checklist and make sure that everything is implemented. And also if there's like any context that needs to be pulled in, like for example, I don't know, client requirements or anything else, that will be within that screen as well. So that it's really easy to understand what actually needs to be executed and how it needs to be done. And if you're watching this thinking like, damn, I like really need this for my business, I have a link in the description to book a call with me where I can break down personally the exact system you need to get out of the day to day and systematize the business so that you can kind of work on the business, not in the business. So if you're interested, click on the link and book a call with us. And the other part, which is very important that most founders miss, even after they start building the systems, is that the system only works if it's setting the right standard. So your team is always going to fall to whatever level the system allows them to. So that's one I cover as well. So that's the pattern we see like play out in literally every business we work with. And what I mean by that specifically is that if your system allows someone to, for example, skip a quality check, they're probably eventually going to skip it, right? So if your system doesn't enforce these rules, they're probably not going to be followed at some point as well. And it's not really because your team is lazy or they don't care. It's just human nature to take the path of least resistance. And this is exactly why, just hiring better people doesn't actually fix operational problems, as you can hire an absolute A player, put them in a system that has no guardrails, and within about 3 months, they're going to be cutting the same corners that everyone else was cutting. So the system is the environment, and the quality of what you put out will always drift towards whatever standard the system actually enforces. And if the system doesn't enforce the standard will drift. And we also see this constantly where a founder hires a great ops person or a great A player. First few weeks, they're being super meticulous, following every step, double checking everything. Then at one point, they really get comfortable and start skipping steps because nobody and the system is not really like flagging each step. The founder notices something is off, steps back in, and now they're right back in the weeds doing the thing they actually hired someone else to do. So then the founder blames the hire, but the hire was literally operating exactly the way the system allowed them to. So the fix is pretty straightforward. Build the standards into the system. So if quality check matters, make it a required step that blocks the next action from happening, because your team is always going to be as good as your system forces them to be. So so the question is how you really do it, and probably like right now, how your business is set up is the knowledge is scattered like everywhere. Some of it's in your head, some of it's in a random Google sheets, some of it's in maybe email or Slack threads, and some of it just lives with that one person on your team who's been there long enough to know how things work. And for anything that doesn't fit neatly into any of those places, your team just probably messages you to find that out. And that needs to become a one single system, where your team goes for answers, for tasks, for processes, and everything else. And there's kind of like three major phases to actually getting to that system. So, phase one is process mapping. You sit down either by yourself or with someone who can interview you, and you walk through how your business actually runs. New client signs up, what happens next? You walk through like every step, every decision, every exception, and you'll probably find that within 5 minutes you listed out like 20 decision points that aren't really written down anywhere. So you'll be able to see kind of how the process looks like, and start thinking of things that aren't maybe that obvious as well. So what is the next step? The phase two would be building out the actual system. So you take everything that you mapped and you consolidate into one tool that's built around your specific processes. So I recommend not taking a generic template or like project management board, but actually building a system that's like custom tailored to your business. So a system where your team logs in, everybody already knows how your business works, and the system actually tells them what to do next. So all the steps of the processes, all the client contacts, like everything is within the system. So when a new person joins, they don't really need to shadow anyone. They just open up the system and the context is already there. So the next step, which is phase three, would be you have your team actually run the real life workflows using only the system. You watch where they get stuck and then make notes. And those points where the team gets stuck, you should like make notes on that, and then start improving the process as well. So you kind of take more knowledge out of people's heads and your own head as well, and transfer it over to the system, whether it's client specific context or process related like edge cases, stuff like that. And you kind of start the knowledge transfer from your head to the system. And here's where it gets like really exciting, because once you've got all of that in a single system, you can also layer something on top that wasn't even possible a couple of years ago. So once you build a system, you can layer AI on top of it, and that makes it kind of like multiply in usefulness as well. So let's say you mapped out your client onboarding, built it into a system. Most of the steps run automatically now, like checklists get created, tasks get assigned, templates get attached, but there are still like edge cases where your team doesn't know what to do. For example, a client asks for something unusual, or a situation doesn't fit really the standard process. Before, maybe the team member will send you like a Slack message directly. But now you can take all of the decision rules you mapped out in phase one, and you feed that into an AI tool like Claude, for example, as a set of instructions. And when your team hits like a weird situation during onboarding, they can ask the AI model instead of asking you. And And the AI also doesn't like fabricate or guess information. It just uses your decision logic to give the team member an answer because you've already done the extraction of information. And the same thing works for everything else, like client communication. You can feed your tone, like templates, escalation criteria into the system, and the AI can draft responses using the standards that you basically set. And then it's only a matter of reviewing the actual generated like text or format and sending it instead of writing it from scratch. Um, so this also like every time you have something that's maybe an edge case or like thing that you haven't maybe documented, you can have the system, let's say, take that into the database, record it, and then go and create some documentation around it or change the process a little bit. And then once that's done, then the system learns a new pattern. So it doesn't just stay where you kind of left it in the first place, but it gets smarter every week. And you can also start doing this today, really, without having like system. Just take one process you've already mapped, feed the decision logic into, let's say, Claude as a project, and then tell your team to run their questions through it before they message you, and you'll be able to have some immediate use case already set up as well. So to bring it all together, your business can't run without you because all the knowledge, judgment, and exception handling lives in your head. And SOPs don't really fix that. So you need a system where the process is the instruction, where the system enforces the standard, and where your team doesn't need to come to you for answers because the system already has them within the system. So once you extract what's in your head, build it into a single system, you can stop being the bottleneck. And once you layer AI on top of that as well, the smartness really like compounds. So you do it once and the system just keeps getting smarter and smarter as well. And we've seen this work with different sizes of companies, different industries as well, startups, SMEs, enterprise companies. So if you want us to take care kind of all of this for you, fully done for you, there's a link in the description to book a call with me and my team where we can go through your current operation setup and tell you exactly how to get out of the day to day. And if you want to see another video where I break down NA10 workflows and what's going to be really useful in terms of AI implementation and workflows for your business, you can check out this video here that I've done as well. So hope this was useful and see you on the next one.